If we're going to compete at this level and play this kind of schedule, and Kalani Sitake knows that, we have got to get more physical. So they made a bunch of changes to their personnel. They changed their scheme. You're going to see one of the more physical games that and Sitake wants to know where his team measures up. You know, they really want to emulate in many ways what Wisconsin has here. Think they can recruit tight ends, think they can recruit offensive linemen, but they're certainly going to evaluate after this one how they measure up, and it's got to be better than it was a year ago in Provo.
BYU won the toss and deferred, so they'll start the third quarter with the football, which means the Badgers will start their opening possession at home. Andrew Mickelson has it teed up. And we are underway in Madison. The freshman, Cruikshank, just inside the 10. Aaron Cruikshank gets a block, gets to the edge, gets hit hard, and he's out to the 31-yard line. And we get our opportunity to start off with arguably the best offensive line in America.
Tremendous continuity. They run block well, but I love the pass protection here. This was against an aggressive group in the opening week, and look at the kind of space in air Hornibrook has to throw the ball, and you won't find better communicators. You know I'm going to say power an awful lot today. You block down, you pull guards around, and fullbacks. Look at this. 1, right at the line of scrimmage. 2 yards down the field on the linebacker, and the eyes up and the awareness to set the whole thing in motion and score touchdowns to finish 15 yards down the field. That's what the Badgers do.
Hornibrook to throw on first down. Well protected by that offensive line. Gets one to midfield, just about an interception, and probably should have been caught by Danny Davis, who's back in the lineup. Well, you figure protection is not going to be a big issue when you've got 3 preseason AP All-Americans. The experience wall-to-wall on that offensive line, so impressive. And hey, look, the last 10 years, 14 Wisconsin offensive linemen have been All-Americans. So this is basically an NFL training camp for 3 or 4 years if you want to go pro as an offensive lineman. Here's Jonathan Taylor, tripped up. It'll be third down and long.
Here's a look at Hornibrook now in a situation he's not found himself an awful lot this season. Third and extra long. He's been dynamite. 22-3 as a starter. Blew up really in the Orange Bowl. Played his very best game as a Badger in that game. Put the game on his shoulders. And oh, by the way, last year in this matchup, how about 18 of 19, 250 and 4 touchdowns. He's already got as many incompletions in the first minute as he had the entire 60 minutes in Utah in Provo last year.
The down and distance Wisconsin doesn't see often. Third down and long. And pressure on Hornibrook, and a tipped ball. What a start for BYU as they get the 3 and out, and they will get the football early.
And I was just bragging about how they pick up line stunts. That's almost the same stunt that you just saw on that tape, and it comes right in the face of Hornibrook, and that's rare to see left guard, left tackle not communicate. It's going to come, and it's going to hit Hornibrook, and BYU not known for their getting after the quarterback. Just 1 sack, just 1 QB hurry first 2 weeks of the season. That's well done by BYU defensively.
Anthony Lottie, that is an NFL-looking punt to Michael Shelton, and he's going to let it drop, and it will take the perfect hop for Wisconsin. BYU jumps on top of it. It may have been touched by a Badger. It will be 1st and 10 at the 5-yard line after a 63-yard punt. And now we get a look at Tanner Mangum, who certainly has experience on his side. First freshman to ever throw for over 3,000 years. A sensational year back in 2015, but then tough times. Lost the job in 2016. Mid-season ruptures his Achilles last year. He's 25 years old. As many BYU players are, they will serve a Mormon mission at some point during their collegiate career. So at a 25-year-old clip, he didn't seem to be bothered at all when we talked to him yesterday about the atmosphere he knew he would face today at Camp Randall. Jet sweep. Hefo gets to the sideline. Aleva Hefo is able to move the chains.
And get ready for lots of that, attacking the edges today. And for Tanner, third offensive coordinator in his time. You see the record there. And a year ago, there just weren't answers in this offense. They were so stagnant. Right? They just tried to line up, play a lot of pro-style concepts, and just had very, very little success, and a bunch of it fell on his shoulders. Not the case this year. More tempo, more movement, a lot more options within this offense.
Again, the jet sweep action to Hifo. And a pretty good pickup on first down of 7.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want to do if you're BYU. And this is an inexperienced front 7 for Wisconsin. Got new people, got new edge defenders, got some new safeties. Only 4 starters return from one of the most elite defenses in college football, and you're doing this. You're running outside to try to change those eyes, force the eye discipline of that defense so you can continue to run outside, inside. A wonderful start here, beginning this drive at their own 5.
That's Scott Nelson, the free safety, number 9, coming up into the tackle box. A redshirt freshman. Pressure on Mangum, and down he goes. Olive Songapolu was able to get the sack.
Yeah, and it's the edge pressure there by Zach Bond. You're going to see it. He's going to delay there. He fools the offensive line right there like he's dropping in coverage. He forces Mangum up, and there's Songapolu. He's one of the rare veterans. They like Bond. They think he's got some twitchiness and quickness, and they love Songapolu right in the middle. He is the difference maker at 350 pounds and showing he's not just a run stuffer.
He's a cheerleader. They could still do a backflip and a split. 3rd down and 8. Another end around, and this one's going nowhere. Dax Milne. That was read by Scott Nelson. He jumped it, snuffed it out. Another 5-yard loss, and it will be a punt for BYU.
Oh, he's one of those young players that's really rising. They love him. His buddy next to him, Dakota Dixon, they are the closest of teammates. Redshirted a year ago, watched how this defense was run, and he's not buying any of that interior run. He knows his assignment. Such an assignment-sound defense. It's what Wisconsin has been year after year after year. And Nelson, the young one, showing he's got the same kind of discipline.
Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Nebraska, Penn State, among others, all wanted Nelson, but he opted to come to Madison. That's a wobbly punt. That's going to take a pretty good BYU roll. Rhett Almond, who last year was the place kicker, takes over as the punter this year for the Cougars and manages an ugly 47 yards. Good field position for Wisconsin when we come back.
Up some pretty gaudy stats this year. To your point, you will have every opportunity playing off that offensive line to be in New York City at the end of the year.
And he runs behind Alec Ingold here, finds a cutback lane, and picks up 4. Who else off of that list do you think will stick the whole year and be in the Heisman conversation?
Well, I'll raise my hand, and maybe I'm biased because I saw him last year. Mackenzie Milton is one of the gems of college football. And ask Scott Frost, who started now 0-2 at Nebraska, what he meant to him as a quarterback in that system. He is a dynamo. You saw Dylan on Thursday night with BC. He, too, is going to put up some rocket numbers. And, yeah, this is a year that is wide open in this Heisman race. And, by the way, the QB in Alabama is not bad either.
Here's Taylor. Drags a tackler for a couple of yards. It was wrapped up by Isaiah Kafusi.
You saw Allison pregame talking about locking that ball up. That drill working this week to put that other hand on that wrist and locking it up when there's 2-3 defenders around. You know, many times those fumbles have come with the extra effort, and you don't want to take that away. Paul Chryst does not want to diminish the leg drive and the finish at the end of those plays. Just try to add a little fundamental soundness to protecting the ball.
And Taylor averages 1 fumble every other game in his Wisconsin career. And that's just too much. Now it's Garrett Groshek to the left of Hornibrook in the shotgun on 3rd and down. Hornibrook on time to the sideline. Jake Ferguson breaks a tackle, drags tacklers all the way down to the BYU 28-yard line, picking up 28.
Wisconsin's really good on 3rd down. They have been the last couple years. 59% coming into today, and this is a one-on-one they always love to create. On your left-hand side, that out route, and that's on Zane Anderson. That's a converted safety. They moved to linebacker just for that play, just for those kind of the plays in space. You know, Zane was a guy that was very adept at safety. But right there you see young Ferguson, Barry Alvarez's grandson, showing what he can do as a wide receiver.
Taylor hammers his way into the red zone.
And there's those Fred Flintstone legs, man. He just churns. We were watching that as a group yesterday. You could just distinguish running backs so easily. Those that once contact comes, just slow down. Right, they go down, and then those that just churn and churn and churn and finish, and always seemingly falling forward.
Taylor tries to show speed to the edge and does. A first down to the 10-yard line, where it will be 1st and goal Badgers. Taki made the tackle, not after Taylor picked up 10.
A little help there from Peniston, the tight end. Biadish, the center right there. He's one of the rare guys that wasn't a preseason All-American because he's surrounded by all of them. But it takes those edge blockers too. If you're going to be a dynamite offensive line, it can't just be the 5 big boys. You throw in 2 tight ends, a fullback and Ingold that love to block. It makes it such a potent run game.
Wisconsin, more bully ball. Down to the 6-yard line goes Taylor, and it is that burst that he shows from the time he gets the football to where he gets, say, in 10 yards, that is just off the charts numbers-wise when NFL people look at the future of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley last year, and Tom Coughlin at the NFL Combine sits at 10 yards every single season for a reason. He wants to know that 10-yard split. And Saquon last year, 1.54 in those 10 yards. This kid, in the measurements here at Wisconsin, 1.44. And unlike it just showing up on a piece of paper, it shows up on Saturdays and on the game tape every week, more importantly.
Cutback lane, down to the 2-yard line. Taiwan Deal makes it 3rd down and goal.
It was a big-time tackle by Zane Anderson as well. If he doesn't get him, you're walking right into the end zone. It was a 3rd down out route on 3rd and 7 that beat Zane in that one-on-one, but he comes right back, digs deep, a big-time tackle, and if BYU's got a chance this afternoon, you've got to hold the Badgers to field goals down here.
And it is Deal that stays in the game, looking for his first touchdown of the season, if he can get it. Jonathan Taylor tied for the lead in FBS with 5 rushing touchdowns. He's on the sideline. It is Deal. Into the end zone. A Wisconsin touchdown. Taiwan Deal didn't play football, organized football, until he was in 8th grade and eventually became the Maryland Gatorade Player of the Year. He's got his first rushing touchdown of the season, and it's 7-0 Wisconsin. Very impressive drive by the Badgers.
Old school, rugged, and yet just awesome. And the NFL loves what Wisconsin does year after year, and they love a bunch of guys in this group that are going to be playing on Sundays.
Zach Hintz puts this one through the back of the end zone, so let's get our first update of the day with Cassidy Hubbard. Well, that is the start that LSU needed to get off to, taking on Auburn, and when Stidham's got it rolling, they have some kind of an offense on the Plains.
But we've learned that game is not about the start. That one is all about the final 10 minutes.
Play action. Hang him on a rollout. Checks it down to Hifo. Gain of 4. Actually 3. They mark him down at the 28.
Small ball. It's a little bit of what BYU is going to have to do against this group, and that's a bad sign. That's Van Ginkel. That's the most dynamic Badger, I think, in space and pass rusher as he comes to the sideline. BYU the first couple weeks not had that big explosive play. They've got to do it by single. Move the chains. Keep the ball moving. Not a lot of home run threats in this lineup, so they got to be efficient.
Squally Canada finds a crease into the secondary. An extra gear for Squally Canada. All the way down inside the 30-yard line of Wisconsin. Fayon Hicks saved a touchdown. Squally picks up 43.
So
and he gets up with a little hitch in his giddy up as well.
As I was saying, they've lacked the explosive play coming into the first 2 games. There's a receiver with a 13-yard rush. Squally's longest just 9 yards the first 2 weeks, beautifully blocked. And then in one-on-one situations, you have got to beat that safety. Just enough of Edwards, the middle linebacker, and that's the one-on-one. And it was actually Caesar Williams, the corner, because of alignment. And Squally's mom liking, Stacy liking what she's seeing.
Had a chance to visit with her last night, and she is a terrific lady. Tanner Mangum on a rollout. Zips one to the sideline. Coming back to help out his quarterback is Gunnar Romney. That's close to a first down, and it without measurement. The officials say BYU first down.
But we saw BYU, Bob, opening week last year. You didn't see any of this. Right, we didn't see any fly sweep. We saw very little movement. You're going to see a ton of screens today. I love the screen package the new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes brings to the equation as well. But when you've got a group that is as old and mature as many of these pieces are at BYU, play to that strength. Have a deep volume, a playbook with a 25-year-old quarterback that's capable of handling it all.
Looking for some room inside the 10 goes Riley Burt. Down inside the 5-yard line. That's another first down. First and goal for BYU.
Pretty good mix, man. Pretty good mix of run and pass. That rush outside. Burt getting his first carry of this season was not a factor the first 2 weeks of the year. You'll see on a hot day, 2, 3, 4 running backs for BYU. And this is exposing a little bit of the youth and inexperience of this Wisconsin defense.
And Squally Canada able to get back on the field for first and goal. Hefo to about the 3.
Yeah, this gets tough down here. And you see teams try to utilize this because they feel there's numbers actual advantage. But I always feel like when you run into the short side of the field, while you may like the numbers, you hate the yardage. You just run out of any real estate to do damage.
Squally Canada up the middle, moving the pile at the goal line. That is a BYU touchdown. So the Cougars answer right back. And they're a point after away from a tie.
I can read those lips of Squally. Squally, she's loving it. And how about BYU says, yeah, you got a dominant O-line on the other side. We're not bad either. And the addition of Tristan Hodge, the right guard, he's their best player. Played at Notre Dame as a young player, transferred here, sat out last year. He's been a big influence right in the middle of that line of scrimmage. Does enough, get his body on Sangapale, and enough movement there for Squally to find 6.
Squally Canada, his 4th rushing touchdown of the season. We are deadlocked at 7. And his mom, Stacy, who has 3 biological children, but is still in the midst of raising the last of the 16 children that she has had come through her home. Right after the Wisconsin offense went down the field, we are deadlocked at 7. A BYU offense that last year was 118th in America in total offense and 123rd in scoring offense. Brookshank barely gets across the 20-yard line.
Don't just block people, maul people. It's what just jumps off the tape when you watch Wisconsin. The double team to the ground, and then you pull around, fifth-year senior Michael Dieter, who's played a little center, guard, and tackle in his career and understands every concept within this book. But I love it, man. David Edwards, every one of these guys, Ben Shaw next to him, they don't just want to block you and stay blocked. They want to embarrass you and break your will at the line of scrimmage.
Jonathan Taylor, first down. And another crease behind 4 offensive linemen that all start off the year on the Outland watch list.
And what makes them so difficult is you'll see, Jonathan, in that acceleration and explosion come right at you, is it's not just power. They'll run zone concept. That is just an ISO play there. That's isolating a fullback on the linebacker, a 2-back run. They will throw the whole arsenal at you in their playbook as well, and they really search you out early to find your weakness to exploit it later as well.
Taylor again. Lost his footing. Still picked up 6.
Yeah, I was just counting during their last game the number of bodies left on the ground. I know that sounds a little gruesome and gory. I apologize for the audience out there, but that's what you do when you watch a lot of tape. And they had just as many runs last week against New Mexico with 2 guys left on the ground as they did 0. I mean, on every single play, just about, you will find a defender on the other side, not just in the tackle, but in the blocking aspect on his back.
Hornibrook with a swing pass, incomplete, intended for Taylor, so it brings up 3rd down and 4. But when you watch this offensive line, and over the years we've watched so many others come through Wisconsin, go to the NFL, playing offensive line here. Is it the talent they recruit? Is it the culture and how they're taught when they're here? What is it that makes this a factory for not just offensive linemen, but Pro Bowl offensive linemen in the NFL?
I think it is just the pride. I was sitting in their O-line room yesterday. You look at the All-Americans that went before you, right? It is just that heritage and tradition of decades and decades that you get to fall in line with.
They pick up the stunt this time, and Hornibrook has all day. Right at the 1st down marker, but running his route just a little too shallow was Danny Davis, and now it's 4th and 1. When you have the best offensive line in America, you might think about at some point going for it, but too early in the game for Paul Christ. He sends out Anthony Lottie.
Yeah, I don't think with this defense and inexperience you make any of that decision, and Paul's not a gambler anyway. And a wonderful tackle there by BYU defensively, flying around, and give them credit. They may be getting beaten right at the surge at the line of scrimmage, but those moves to put a little bit more speed on the field at the 2nd and 3rd level, paying off here with a couple drives.
Fair catch from Michael Shelton at his own 11-yard line. Tied at 7. This game being played in September. We normally expect some cool fall temperatures here in Madison. Allison, not so.
Yeah, definitely not the case. I was actually told by a member of the Wisconsin communication staff this is the 2nd hottest game in Camp Randall history. Now it's 87 degrees out, but if I take this thermometer and I point it at the field, 120 degrees is the current playing surface, guys. So it is the middle of September, but the temperature not playing the part here in the fall. I've seen a lot of the guys come over, ask for ice towels draped around their necks. Wisconsin does have 2 big cooling fans on the end of each bench, but other than that, not a ton of cooling devices on this sideline.
And Brock's been looking for those cooling devices up here in the booth. Very high maintenance. Diva, color commentator, not happy at all with the temperatures as Aleva Hifo. Speed to the edge, and that's the game plan, it seems, Brock.
Sure is.
Looks like they don't think they can probably line up and play bully ball themselves, so trying to stretch out that Wisconsin defense as best they can.
Yeah, and then just stretch them out. You know, Jim Leonard said it. I asked him point blank, D coordinator at Wisconsin, you know, how do you think BYU is going to attack you? He said they're going to attack the edges. I mean, with what we do defensively, with a lot of 3 down front, with some of the inexperience of our people on the edges, they're going to come after us there, and they certainly have. Jeff Grimes, OC for BYU, in this first quarter of play.
Squally Canada breaks a tackle. Strong run from Squally Canada to pick up the 1st down. Ryan Connolly could not bring him down behind the line.
Guys, we saw Stacey Canada here, Squally's mom, watching him in person. She hasn't been able to come to many of his games, and for good reason, as she has helped to raise 16 kids. While she has just 3 of her own, she takes in children all the time that are in unfortunate situations whose parents can't raise them. She said, I just can't say no, but this year, his senior year, she is making a point to travel to all of his games.
Awesome. An amazing woman, and we talked to her about Squally yesterday. Just beaming with pride as Mangum will dump it down. Lopini Katoa is brought down in the open field. Zach Bone makes the tackle. That's a loss of a couple.
That's a good play, though, by Tanner. He had a sack on that opening drive. It was actually Bond that faked into coverage and showed his twitchiness and got home and impacted the pocket. I think for Tanner today, you walk this line in this building of just wanting to make that big play, yet knowing you just can't take the negatives. I know that one went backwards, but in his mind, with that clock in this kind of pass rush, just no throwing the ball away can be a win on the road.
Another tackle broken. Lu'ulu Patutau is able to pick up about 2 and get back to the original line of scrimmage, so it's 3rd and 10. That should take us to the end of the first quarter. And it will. The game we expected. Physical, low scoring, and deadlocked at 7 after 1 quarter of play here at Wisconsin. Williams is down on the field. She's really the one sweating it out, as are these players. 120 degrees. The reading down on the field as BYU back to work to open up the second quarter. 3rd down and 10.
Could be a good screen down in distance.
Mangum well protected. Floats one to the sideline. Coming free. Wide open is Talon Shumway. He's got a 1st down.
Well, how about the protection right there to run a post corner? This is a nice route by Talon. He sets up that in-breaking route and puts his foot in the ground and leaves enough room to the sidelines there for Mangum. And that's what Mangum does best. Asking Jeff Grimes, asking Tanner yesterday what those guys are most comfortable calling, what Tanner likes to throw. It's that intermediate route. It's gone away largely in college football. We see so much underneath. We see shots down the field. We don't see those corners and in cuts, that intermediate game that Tanner's most comfortable throwing.
Mangum out of the pocket. Across his body and through the hands of his intended receiver, Dax Milne, the true freshman.
And Caesar Williams does just enough of the distraction drill right there. Receivers work on that drill, right? The distraction right in front of their face. He may have even got his hand on that ball to tip it just away from Milne. He does. I like that aggressiveness on 1st down, though. Mangum could have run for 3 or 4 yards, but you come on the road in this place in front of 80,000. Is a heavy underdog today, and you've got your opportunity to push that ball down the field, give your guys a chance to pay it off. I like that aggressive mindset.
Squally Canada moves the pile across the 50 outside of Dakota Dixon. And we saw Dakota a moment ago wearing 14 in red. He is the only experience in the back end of that Wisconsin defense. As Squally Canada again is limping off the field. But the 2 corners, completely inexperienced. And Scott Nelson alongside Dakota Dixon at free safety is a redshirt freshman. So when you watched this Wisconsin defense on tape, thought there might be some plays to be made for BYU against the second.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. So much inexperience there. Jim Leonard likes to do a lot of things defensively. And you're seeing it so far. Ball moving between the 20s.
Empty backfield on 3rd down. 4-man rush. Mangum wide open on the slant. Easy pitch and catch for the 1st down to Hifa. So we'll see if BYU can keep it rolling offensively without Squally Canada. He limped off on the initial drive, was able to come back on the field and score a touchdown. Now he really walked off the field with a pretty significant limp, trying to run it off again.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the pile. I talk about the Wisconsin piles on the other side. Look at the work and the effort by those BYU guys to get Wisconsin defenders on the ground. But I think that pile just rolled into the leg of Squally there. And you know his mom's yelling at him, get back on that field. Do all you can for your teammates.
Katoa, true freshman. Good run on 1st down. A gain of 6. Ohio State, TCU, AT&T Stadium in Arlington. We'll have it for you at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC, live on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. And Brock, road environment for the Buckeyes. TCU, do they have enough firepower to stay with Ohio State?
I don't think so, but Gary Patterson's crew is going to at least create some tighter windows for Dwayne Haskins to throw into. They have made it look so easy, Ohio State has offensively. It'll be a tougher challenge, but man, are they loaded with speed everywhere.
That's a backwards pass. It's a trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone. Lu'ulu Patutau got by the defense, and the tight end scores off the pass from Hifa. You couldn't draw it up any better if you're BYU.
An aggressive, wonderful call there, and perfectly executed in time. Now, we could see it from the booth pretty easily, Bob. Harder to see on the field that this is thrown behind the line of scrimmage, but you know when it is. Boy, this double pass is wide open, and I talk about the inexperience in that secondary. Look at the eyes. They totally lost all eye discipline And that's about as easy a throw and catch as you're going to get. Tremendous call. Jeff Grimes, OC BYU, has got it going here in the first half.
Oleva Hifo sold it. And Moronai Laulu Patuta, the champion of the pronunciation guide for BYU, gets behind the defense. And this is about as easy as it comes for BYU. They've got the lead. Of the Badgers will remember, but it's an interesting answer. You've got it coming up. And an interesting game. A trick play just run by BYU to give them the lead, 14-7. And Cruikshank will let this one go through the back of the end zone. Another update with Cassidy. Well, some interesting games right now. Boise on the road taking on Oklahoma State in Stillwater. Obviously the game between Auburn and LSU, and this is a score early that'll draw some attention as well. BYU on the road taking on Wisconsin, up by a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor back to work. Bottled up, gain of a yard.
Well, and this is a game that just simply and frankly was not competitive a year ago. It was 40-6 in BYU's building, and it was a turning point for Kalani Sitake, because he looked at that game and said, you know what, we got to beat Wisconsin. In year 3 of his tenure here, how are we going to win? How are we really going to do this thing? And he said, we can get linemen, we can get tight ends, we can get big guys, and the bar is Wisconsin. And he was so excited to see how his guys would measure up this year, and I think their passing grades so far, certainly compared to last year.
Play action for Hornibrook. Takes the check down, and Jonathan Taylor takes a wallop at the 29-yard line from Sione Taki.
And I love the old school cowboy collar right there as well. And he's one of the pieces that after this game last year, when he got mauled on the edge of the line of scrimmage as a DN, they said, enough. We got to play to his strengths. He can run and he can hit. And let's get him to linebacker. So on those checkdowns like that to running backs, he can come up and finish and deliver a blow.
That's a young man that took a plea deal for misdemeanor theft back in 2015, but credits his new wife, Alyssa, and their faith for getting his life back on track. He has been reborn as a linebacker. And a tie up on the far side, a flag thrown very late from the secondary. Danny Davis came together with Isaiah Herron, and the true freshman looks like he's going to get flagged for pass interference.
That is a huge call on 3rd and 6. Punting the ball back to BYU is a possibility if you do not get this call.
Pass interference by number 6 of the defense. It's a spot foul and an automatic first down.
Well, Kalani Sitake was livid with that call.
Yeah, and the official there had it backwards. Number 6, the receiver, but it was 10, the young freshman corner. And just a lot of contact here, one-on-one. Does he impede the route? Does he impede the opportunity for Danny Davis to come back and get the football? You could have easily seen that called either way. And Kalani happening right in front of him. He's not buying it, because he doesn't think Danny Davis is getting out of that route and getting to the football anyway.
Taylor on first down. Gets outside. Gang tackled at the 46 after a gain of 6. Again, good pursuit from Taki and Troy Warner.
Now, I will say this about that last call, and we have seen this, Bob, even over the course of this season in September. How that's called in the first or second quarter has got to stay consistent. If you're going to call that hand contact out on the outside one way, you have to be willing and able to do it on the other side. And Sitake, I think, is still fuming about that, because he knows the opportunity to get off the field, a 3 and out, and get the ball back. It's an awfully big call.
It's coming, picked up. Hornibrook right at the first down marker to Kyle Peniston. And that looks to be good enough for a Wisconsin first down.
And there's Zane Anderson again on a tackle and finishing. And Paul Chris said it was pretty easy. And Jim Leonard, you put the tape on from last year, you could quickly get rid of it, because what BYU has done this year against Cal, going and beating Arizona the opening week. This is not last year's BYU team. This is a crew that's flying around. You're seeing it already. This is a crew that is willing to mix it up, play physical ball.
Taylor Corralled behind the line again. It's Taki. Boy, it's hard to believe that he ever was a defensive end. His sideline to sideline pursuit ability looks like a born linebacker.
Yeah, and just look at his vision right here. Look at his eyes in it. That's what you got to have against Wisconsin. All those big fellas. Right, if they're going to pull around or they're going to run that outside stretch zone, you've got to have linebackers. You know, it's what the Ohio States of the world have done in Wisconsin at times. You know, just that second level speed that can beat those blockers or get to the point of attack before they hit you.
Taki looks great as a slimmed down 230-pound linebacker. There's the slant. Catch is made. Danny Davis. 2 yards shy of the first down. Brings up another big third down. 3rd and 2.
On a hot day, 120 plus coming off that turf. And the time of possession pretty equal right now between the two, and that's a dogfight.
Four-man rush. Hornibrook flushed to his left. The pursuit coming. Gets tripped up. Almost threw an interception right into the arms of Taki. Oh, a dangerous play by Hornibrook as he clearly flipped it forward. Players are pursuing the ball, but it is an incomplete pass. He almost handed it to the senior linebacker.
Yeah, this is one of those elements that as a quarterback, Alex is trying to develop when the play isn't there. And I think that ball is out before his right forearm, and you're right, it is right into the lap. I don't think Taki expected this at all.
And a flag was out late.
Grounding by number 12 of the offense. It's a loss of down at the spot of the foul, and it's 4th down.
So that is intentional grounding because Hornibrook on the scramble clearly is outside the tackle box, but the ball didn't get back to the line of scrimmage when he hit Taki.
Well, the ball is going to get batted by a defender, so is there a judgment there that the ball was not going to get back to the line of scrimmage? That's a really curious call there. Certainly outside the tackle box, and if the ball gets tipped by the defenders.
Also an interesting call because it would have been 4th and 2. It then became 4th and 6. So you wonder if there was a chance at 4th and 2 Wisconsin might have gone for it. Instead, they punted away.
Excited to take a trick, to trumpet after David ordered it up, but I took it with my left. I could have taken it with the king, and it probably cost us a euchre.
Yeah, game sped up on you, Allison.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, Brock's from Seattle. Neither of us have any idea what you're talking about. Squally Canada able to get back on the field. Mangum is able to complete one to Dylan Colley for 8 yards.
Yeah, Mangum's feeling good, isn't he? You could just feel he's about 15 pounds lighter. He said he really committed in this his final year. Had to evaluate after the Achilles injury a season ago just what football meant to him. At 25 years of age, and he committed to changing his diet, his sleep patterns. He's 205 pounds, and you see it. We saw him last year. He was stationary, sitting duck at times, and that movement and some of that creativity and the eyes up and the awareness. That's a win on 1st down to get 8.
Colley finds a lane. The end around works again beautifully for BYU, and they've got a 1st down. They are keeping this Wisconsin defense very off balance.
Well, one of the challenges Wisconsin has, if they play their big 3-down group, right, which is their heavy group, they play 2 fronts basically. A 3-down front with the big guys, and then a 4-down more of a nickel package. And with their 3-down, you've got a converted offensive tackle, 76 right there. That is your 5 technique. He's your edge player, and so much of that run game is going to burden he and that outside linebacker. One of those two have to have containment on these plays. BYU is getting to that edge and winning that edge time and again.
6 different runners for 111 total yards, and there's Hefo again. He's got another jet sweep lane to the 39-yard line of Wisconsin. That's 19 more.
And once again, right guard here, Tristan Hodge. Look at the difference he makes. I mean, look at that lane that he's running through. Big Tristan and Austin Hoyt. These are veteran guys, big strong guys. We highlight the Badgers on the other side. Give Hoyt and Hodge some credit here as well. And then all of a sudden, you start to do a lot of this, and that defense can start seeing some ghosts as well as what's coming, what's not coming.
Mangum broke it up. Tried to squeeze one to Laulu Pututau. Allison?
Well, Bob Brock was talking about those big guys up front for BYU, and they're bigger this year than last year. They were playing around 270 was the average for the offensive linemen last year. This year, they averaged 305 points. That was pounds. That was a big point of emphasis for this program. In the offseason, they knew they had to get bigger, especially up front. And Coach Sitake was very honest about how he viewed this game as a measuring stick. And right now, they like what they see. Jeff Grimes, their offensive coordinator, said we are owning the line of scrimmage.
Against big-time competition last year, they looked overmatched. Here's Mangum, well protected. He's going to go deep. Underthrown a bit, but drops it in. Dallin Holker, the tight end, all the way down inside the 5. And BYU knocking on the door at the 1-yard line. First and goal.
It's the nifty little details here. And Holker, the young guy, well, against an inexperienced redshirt freshman. Look at the little push-off. Right, that little subtle move right at the end of the route. We have seen BYU use their eyes from a number of different positions. Beautiful route on a post corner on the 3rd down. And they pointed to Holker there as a guy they wanted to get. Felt like his speed and playmaking was something they had to get on the field.
Replay is going to take a look at this.
Further review.
You may have seen that replay we showed you, and we'll get a couple of other looks as well. The replay booth right along with us. As Holker goes to the turf, does he have complete control of the football? Right there, it's coming loose.
Yeah, he doesn't, I don't think, have it at any point. I think that has to come out the other way. I think right at the initial point, he doesn't catch it totally clean. He doesn't have control of it there.
Now, the only way this is a completion is if they rule that he had complete control of the football, 2 feet down, made a football move. In which case, this would be a fumble and a fumble recovery by Holker. But if they don't rule that he had 2 feet down and made a football move, and I don't know, would you say that he had it long enough to rule that a catch before he started to go down?
For me, I'm in that replay booth. He doesn't catch it clean at the very beginning.
Right.
And when you don't catch it clean running full speed 40 yards down the field, right, you're just never going to gather. I don't see him ever gather it and take control of this.
And you mentioned the word full speed. That's key, because the replay booth will want to see this play full speed. When we slow it down to this extent, it almost does look like he has complete control. It almost looks like the ball is
stuck to his forearm.
Right.
We know the ball is not Velcro stuck to his forearm. We know that didn't happen. He's not wearing the stickum that Lester Hayes had in the 70s. It's not happening.
I love Lester Hayes.
Oh, man, that stuff was dripping off of his forearm.
Stickum was just the best. The old 70s Raiders teams.
I just don't think he ever had control initially. And if you don't have it initially, it's really hard through all that contact and movement to think he's going to gather it and control it, and it was moving the entire time. A wonderful throw. How about the confidence of Tanner Mangum, a covered receiver there? He's covered.
Now it has to
gives him a chance.
It has to be indisputable because they did rule it a catch on the field. So this has not been an immediate return to the field here, as it's a long discussion with the replay booth. Although sometimes the long discussion means where should the clock be set at and where should we put the football. And now the officials are running the ball back up towards the middle of the field. So it looks like they've been given the heads up. This is an incomplete pass.
And the 80,000
After
saw.
further review, the pass was incomplete. It will be 3rd and 10 at the 39-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 6:21. 6:21.
What a big call.
Yeah, and you could see Dallin, I think, initially, right? A youngster, those freshmen may not even try to hide it at times. You didn't see him disputing and debating. He knew it. He knew that he just, unfortunately, with great coverage there, and Nelson right in his lap, that he could not get separation from him. And, man, that makes that so important in tight coverage, that control early through the reception.
So instead of 1st and goal at the 3, the crowd alive on 3rd and 10.
That close.
The discussion amongst the officials continues. Now we're set for 3rd and 10. And BYU is heading right towards the teeth of that student section here at Camp Randall. Wobbly pass caught by Dylan Collie. Now what do you do if you're BYU? It's 4th down and 6 at the 35-yard line. You try a field goal with a true freshman kicker from 50 plus, or do you punt and play field position?
They're going to go the freshman route, which can always be an adventure.
A true freshman, Skylar Southam. Kalani Sitake told us he would feel comfortable with Southam from 55 yards and in. This is 52. Wide right. Had the distance, but not the direction. BYU comes away empty. Good field position for the Badgers when we come back. That might be why they were late arriving. Jonathan Taylor alone in the backfield. He gets the call. Now, Brock, while we were away, you looked over at me and said, all right, 5:55 to go in the first half. You get a stop on downs, basically, by a missed field goal. 3 straight runs. Is there any other way to play this if you're Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think you've got to get back to who and what you are, and credit right there on first down. It makes it hard for the play caller when it's a 1-yard run, but yeah, I think you've got to run the ball, and BYU right there, I mean, they just threw down David Edwards. You don't see that often, 79. I talk about Wisconsin's the one that's dishing out the damage usually. BYU here has been flying around, winning at the line of scrimmage.
Hornibrook slants one. A.J. Taylor has a first down for Wisconsin, and we check in with Cassidy.
Wow,
that's awesome. What a great bluff. Embarrassing for all the guys that bought it as Hornibrook drops the throw again. Avoids the pressure, extends the play, flag thrown, and a drop by Danny Davis. I'll have to check the penalty marker, and it looks like the pass rush of BYU may have drawn a flag.
Holding by number 63 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
Yeah, that's Michael Dieter right there, and there were little hands to the face of him as well, but he's going to grab Tuodi Mariner right here in the middle, the left guard, and this group here is just a little unsettled right now. You can see the line game come across, and hands outside the frame, hands to the face, but just right in front of that umpire, you start to get your hands outside of the frame. They'll let you hold those shoulder pads, but once you start to grab those outside of the shoulders in the back of the jersey, you're going to get the 10-yard penalty.
Hornibrook, screen, dropped by Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor, last season, 299 carries, 1,977 yards in 16 career games. And last year, he broke Adrian Peterson's freshman rushing record the whole year. He only had 8 receptions, and this year hasn't caught a ball yet. That's just not a part of his game.
It's the aspect that just has to continue to grow.
Garrett Groshek. It'll be 3rd down and a mile.
And guess who? Guess who's there to clean it up? Taki. He has been there all day. He's let his pads do the talking. And you get out that 1-yard run, just kind of set the tempo for the entire drive. And again, Kalani Sitake looked at this game and really wanted to evaluate where his guys are at physically. Where and how do you measure up against this big bruising team, and the speed and the explosiveness right now. I didn't think I would say that of BYU here defensively, especially at the second level of their group. The difference.
Getting loose is Danny Davis. Very interesting call coming here for Wisconsin. Is he short of the first down on 3rd and a mile? No. The officials say without measurement, he picked it up on 3rd and 19.
Wow.
Boy, that is a disappointing letdown for BYU defensively.
Yeah, and they dropped back to those sticks. You can see the depth there at BYU, and this is basically a quasi screen pass. You're trying to time that up, and you can hear the official. They're going to look at this spot and review it. But you're trying to time that up. Make sure you get the ball out before the blocking down the field. Well timed. And we'll have a measurement and a replay review when we come back.
Yeah, they're reviewing this spot. Big one.
The runner was short of the line to gain. It will be 4th and 1 at the 38-yard line.
4th and 1.
4th and 1. It's amazing as all these other folks sit and stare at that group.
The only time they all get up is jump around. They all join on jump around.
There's like this envy and like disgust of the college students, right? Like, of everybody else.
Skin.
That's a dad bod, bro. Dad bod.
The result of the replay review while we were away, it is 4th and 1 for Wisconsin. And it was pretty clear. Danny Davis wasn't even close to the line to gain. They almost gave him a half yard too much even after review as they put the ball just at the 38-yard line. Looked to be even short of the 38. They need to get to the 37 for a first down. So huge play after replay takes it back to 4th and 1.
Taki right in the middle of the action. You better get to him if you're going to move the chains.
Taylor up the middle. He's got the first down.
But not by much. The big nose tackle there, Tonga, right in the middle of the action. This O-line is not blowing BYU off the ball. And one of the advantages that Sataki and crew have defensively is they're going to play 7-8 defensive linemen. They rotate their guys through on a hot day, and you're not seeing the mauling that you saw the first 2 weeks for Wisconsin up front. You're not seeing the country's best O-line right now dominating a group. You're seeing BYU holding that point pretty well.
Taylor dodges a tackler in the backfield. Stays on his feet. Terrific run from Jonathan Taylor. And it's time to answer the Aflac trivia question. After Taylor picked up a first down. In which stadium did Wisconsin clinch the 1993 Rose Bowl berth? But the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, they used to do that back in the day. Used to play games over there. Been a long time.
Back in the day, I was in college.
You got that answer right, man. You were a college football star.
A jet sweep for Kendrick Pryor. He's inside the 15, all the way down inside the 5-yard line.
You can jet sweep. We can jet sweep. We can all jet sweep on this afternoon in Madison, Wisconsin. I think that's a testament to both teams, really commitment inside to stop that run game. You can see it just selling out there. Everybody wanting to count for the running back, and enough speed there by Pryor. Danny Davis can certainly do it. A.J. Taylor, that's been an element within Paul Chryst's scheme for years and years and years. And it's the one thing that Paul will not do. He will not panic over a course of a game. He will not get away from the run game. And he's got enough volume and arsenal in their run game to get to be successful.
6 offensive linemen for Wisconsin. And a handoff to Jonathan Taylor to the 2-yard line. BYU starts the third quarter with the football. They also have 3 timeouts. So you wonder if BYU may think about calling a timeout at some point here to save a little time for their offense. As effective as they've been, they might be able to score some points before halftime. But they're letting the clock wind down, and if you're Paul Chryst, why not take as much time off the clock as possible? Hand off to the fullback, Alec Ingold. Is he in? Yes! A Wisconsin touchdown. Second of the year for Ingold.
And there is just almost nothing you can do defensively. It's like a Tom Brady QB sneak, man. You got the numbers up there, but Alec Ingold just gets that running start. He gets his pads beneath Taki and Zane Anderson. They're right there. They're there to meet him, but one guy's got a 4-yard head start on it, understands leverage, is an old heavyweight wrestling champ, and gets those pads down and into the end zone for the tying score.
As a high school senior, Alec Ingold was 42-0 as a wrestler. Won the state title in the 220-pound division. And he wrestles his way into the end zone. Gaglianone able to add the extra point, and we are deadlocked at 14 with 1:17 to go before halftime. Coming up at the half, we'll check in with Kevin Negandhi, Mac Brown, Jonathan Vilma. They'll have the State Farm halftime report, highlights of our game, and some big games going on right now around college football. Of course, LSU Auburn and the Boise State Oklahoma State game. A couple of ranked versus ranked matchups this afternoon, and then really this is all kind of leading up to the big one tonight. Out of conference matchup, Big 12, Big 10, Ohio State and TCU.
It's what we need to see in college football. We need these out of conference battles and trying to get a committee all the information they're going to need over the course of this season to evaluate. And frankly, this is what Kalani Sitake needs for his program as well. He wants these measuring sticks. He wants Arizona. He wants Cal. He wants Wisconsin. He wants Washington. You know, he wants these kinds of opponents for his program. As brutal as it may be, as hard as outsiders look at it and wonder, you know, if you're ever going to be able to really overcome as difficult and demanding a schedule, it's exactly what he wants to realize what his team is and the areas it still needs to grow and what it isn't.
Zach Hintz with a booming kick through the back of the end zone. Well, tonight on ESPN, Nick Saban, #1 Alabama, traveled to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. 7 Eastern, live on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. And Tua and the Tide tonight on the road, Brock. Does that stop the Alabama freight train?
No, I don't think offensively. I think Ole Miss and their receiving core is as deep as anybody, and they'll throw it, and they will test that secondary of Alabama. And 2 QBs right there in the Hawaiian Islands that can spin it as well as anybody in the country. And with Tua there and taking the reins, you talk to anybody that's been in and around that program, it's just an offense unlike anything Saban's had before.
How aggressive does BYU get as they start with Katoa, the true freshman, looking for a cutback lane with a flag down. Weaves his way for 6 yards. We'll see if this one's coming back.
That's going to be a hold to set this drive back.
Holding by number 32 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
Now, 1st and 20. If I'm Paul Chryst, I'm thinking calling my timeouts now.
Yeah, and that's Holker there. That's the true freshman, and we saw it on the other side. Once those hands just get outside the frame, that is obvious. And Holker's the guy they want to get involved. They wanted him in space. He is such a young puppy. Had the near huge play down the field on the seam route, and that time Just unfortunately grabbing Bond outside the frame for the penalty.
Wisconsin not calling a timeout, and BYU takes the clock all the way down.
Smart.
52 seconds when they snap it. Katoa. And I would think Wisconsin would call timeout. Very surprised that Wisconsin isn't thinking if you use your timeouts here,
right,
you could force a deep punt from in BYU territory.
Yeah, it's a group that so values possessions and values the ball. Wisconsin. Yeah, this is a little bit surprising.
You have to call timeout here. This is just a bad mistake in terms of clock management from the Wisconsin coaching staff. You have an opportunity to pin BYU deep here and maybe get your offense some field position right before halftime. But they're going to take a 14-14 tie to the locker room. Katoa bottled up, and that will take us to halftime. BYU an underdog by 3 touchdowns. Upset alert here in Madison. The State Farm halftime report coming up. They're deadlocked at 14 here at Wisconsin. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewart, Allison Williams will join us in just a moment. Last year we had the opener for BYU.
Yeah.
They got shoved around by LSU, didn't cross the 50-yard line on offense. Then when they played this Wisconsin team, they got drubbed. What's different? This is a different group than we saw last year.
It's a group that's got a lot of answers offensively. They've got a fly sweep right now with nearly 100 yards on the perimeter in their run game, and they came into this building. This was a statement for them. They wanted to evaluate where they are as a program, felt like they're stronger. And in that first 30 minutes of play, they outrushed the Badgers in this building by 36 yards. That does not happen very often.
BYU starts with the football here in the third. And a moment ago, Allison Williams caught up with Kalani Sitake.
Coach Sitake, you told us this was a measuring stick game for your team. How do you think you stacked up in that first half?
Good for one half. We got to play the next 30 minutes, you know. Our guys are excited to finish this out, and so we'll see what happens now. But Wisconsin's a great team. They've won games in the second half, and we got to match their power and match their intensity.
What stood out to you in that first half that you thought were some positives for your team?
Our guys should feel confident. They got bigger and stronger in the offseason. Now we got to need to finish the deal. 30 minutes left, and it's going to be a slugfest, and we're ready to get hit in the mouth. Let's go.
Kalani, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hit me with your best shot. They're not afraid of the physicality they knew they were going to see today here at Wisconsin. Play action for Tanner Mangum to start off the second half. Sidearms one to the sideline. Turning upfield is Dylan Colley, and he's got 3 yards.
No turnovers in that first half, just 2 penalties. I mean, you go on the road in this conference, in this Big Ten, and you're going to face the Wisconsins, the Michigans, Ohio States. You have to play clean. You've got to win the field position battle when you get those opportunities. And you certainly can't give the ball away. And Tanner's not put the ball in harm's way at all in the first 30 minutes.
Colley. That time read by Wisconsin. The jet sweep doesn't work as we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Wisconsin got their yards. They're going to commit to that run game, and you're going to see it in the second half as well. But they were hard-earned. There were not many explosive plays, not many huge lanes. In fact, it was Squally Canada on the other side. Had the biggest run of that first half. And this trick play, perfectly executed by Hifo to throw it down the field. As this all squared 14.
3rd down and 7. Opening drive of the third quarter. Wisconsin shows blitz. Here they come. Mangum out of the pocket. Keeps the play alive. Heaves one downfield. Broken up by Dakota Dixon.
Yeah, and Jim Leonard was not going to mess around. Right, he's going to try to dictate a little bit. Brings the corner linebacker blitz off the edge. Mangum does a wonderful job running through the tackle of Connolly, the linebacker there, and give Dakota Dixon credit. There are not many safeties who are going to make up 10 yards of ground, but he does. Mangum let go of that ball. There was a good 10 yards of real estate that little Dakota Dixon had to do his very best to get underneath, and he does to knock it away and force the 3 and out.
Danny Davis back to receive the punt, and it is a good one from Red Almond. Davis buried inside the 25-yard line at the 23. Well, tomorrow on Sunday NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN, the story of James Conner's incredible journey. He battles cancer at Pitt, and he had a breakout performance last week with the Steelers. Randy Moss also ranking this week's best catches from college football, and you got Mossed. The gang will have it for you. Sunday NFL Countdown tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on ESPN.
We saw Connors in college a couple different times. What an unbelievable story of grit and determination. And you think his Pittsburgh O-linemen love him? I think they like having him in camp and his commitment to them.
And I think we have now reached the deadline, or are drawing very close to it, where Le'Veon Bell's going to lose close to another $900,000 by not reporting.
And when he's 42 years of age, he's going to be thinking about that.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not. But when he's my age, I promise you, he will.
Taylor. 3-yard shy of a first down. Zane Anderson, who played free safety last year. Now he becomes an undersized linebacker. He makes the stop, and those position switches, philosophically changing the defense for BYU. They look like a different group on both sides of the ball this year.
And give that staff credit. I mean, give Tuiaki, the defensive coordinator, and Kalani the credit to say, you know, we're not going to just continue to be hard-headed about this. We want to do it for their careers. They have an eye to play in the NFL as well. Put them in the best position of success now and in their futures.
4-man rush. Hornibrook well protected. Long throw intercepted. It's picked off by Anderson. Zane Anderson jumps the route, and BYU in business inside the Wisconsin 30-yard line.
And there he is. You saw him on that sheet. He was a safety in his career here at BYU, and now he's going to be a linebacker. You know, he got beat early on an out route. Actually gets beat a little bit again, but a late throw there by Hornibrook, just a tick late. If you're going to throw that out route into the short side of the field, you have to throw it with anticipation. He did not. And give the former safety, now turned linebacker, credit. The guy's been all over the field. He and Taki have been the two biggest difference makers. The guys up front have given the opportunity to fly around, but he set his offense up with some tremendous field position.
Squally Canada down to the 21-yard line. Ryan Connolly made the stop after a gain of 6, and this Wisconsin defense has dealt with sudden change so far this season well.
Not a point. Not a point when the offense is giving it away, and that's now the 4th occasion this season. The Badgers have turned it over. A couple fumbles, second pick of the year for Hornibrook. And I think you've got to take a shot to the end zone here soon.
Mangum looking for the wheel route down the sideline, flips it that way, and it's incomplete. He wanted Dallin Holker.
Bob, with BYU threatening here, keep in mind Wisconsin is without outside linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. He's out with what is officially being called a right leg injury. However, he is on the sidelines in street clothes, and he has that right leg in a boot.
That's a significant loss. 6.5 sacks a year ago. To me, he's their best edge defender, but just getting to the quarterback and put more burden on an area in a linebacker group that's already got a couple other backers out today.
Big third down here after the interception. Can BYU capitalize? Mangum, quick hitter, out to the edge. Efo makes the catch, makes a spin. He's inside the 5. First and goal, BYU at the 4.5.
That's just soft coverage on 3rd and 5. That's not the coverage over the last few years with Wisconsin corners you're used to seeing. Look how conservative that is. That's 8 yards of cushion. Down here in the red zone, where you got that goal line as an extra defender. The sidelines too. That's just pretty soft, pretty conservative. Tanner Mangum and Hippo taking advantage.
And Hornibrook hoping Jim Leonard's defense can get a stop as he threw his 23rd career interception to set up BYU. Canada turned aside after a gain of maybe a half yard. TJ Edwards, Scott Nelson combine on the tackle. It'll be second down and goal. He might have lost a half yard.
And one thing I like about Jeff Grimes and what he's doing here offensively in BYU as well is use your tight ends, right? Use all your personnel. 9 different BYU Cougars have touched the ball. As you see Edwards there trying to gather his wits, get himself ready for this second down. But that defense for Wisconsin has had to deal with so many different BYU offensive players getting the ball. And this is a wonderful area to use your tight ends.
Roll out for Mangum. Sidearms one, back of the end zone. The toe tap is done, but it's out of bounds and incomplete to Dax Milne. He was open. He just couldn't complete the ballet routine in the back of the end zone.
Another excellent job. Yeah, and that right toe is just out of bounds. Another excellent job by Mangum to just buy time. You have to do that in the red zone. If that play isn't there initially, you've got to have a sense of where everybody is around you and allow those wide receivers just that extra beat to get open for you. I like the way Mangum has played here for 2.5 quarters. Really walking that line well between being aggressive but protecting the football.
Huge play here, 3rd and goal. Only a 3-man rush. Bullet throw to the end zone, broken up, flag out. Milne, the intended receiver. And Faion Hicks, the redshirt freshman, is going to get called.
Pass interference by number 20 of the defense. The ball will be placed at the 2-yard line, and it's a first down.
Well, we saw this earlier. There's a huge 3rd down play on the other side with a lot of contact. A play on Danny Davis, and I put those two very similar. I think both of them could not be called, but there's probably enough contact for those back judges to see and feel like it impedes and impacts the play. And if you're going to call it on one side earlier, you've got to be consistent with it.
Squally Canada lowers the boom into the end zone. BYU, they've got the lead back. The 2nd touchdown rushing this afternoon for Squally Canada. And Stacy Canada, mom, is having a blast watching her son put on a show. And way up there in the euchre seats, they like it too.
Like in goal, the fullback on the other side. This is all pad level. They're unblocked. Dakota Dixon's unblocked right there. But Squally Canada knows it. He gets those pads down right near the goal line and plunges in for 6.
Brian Patrick Canada, better known as Squally, with 2 touchdowns. BYU's got the lead back. Bob Wischusen, Brock Ewert, Allison Williams back in Madison. The Extra Yard for Teachers Week has arrived. It's a week-long celebration of teachers led by the College Football Playoff Foundation through its Extra Yard for Teachers platform. Visit the College Football Playoff Foundation website at cfp-foundation.org to learn more about Extra Yard for Teachers Week and see how you can get involved. In a moment, we're going to let you know how Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator for BYU, will fondly remember his days as a grammar school teacher. He's been educating kids his whole life, now as a coach, but earlier in life as a grammar school teacher. As Cruikshank on the kickoff return. It's popped At about the 24-yard line. We had a chance to talk to Jeff Grimes yesterday. The impact he feels he made during his teaching days.
I think you have to have standards, but at the same time, you recognize that every person is an individual. And one thing that I learned when I first started teaching, and I was out at the elementary school, and so this big guy and all these little kids come running up and hug my waist all day long. I loved it. And so I got back a lot from it as well. But one of the things I learned way back then was that every kid is an individual, not just in their learning styles, but in what it takes to motivate them and what might be going on with them at home or emotionally, and those things matter. And you don't have an opportunity to have an impact on someone unless you recognize that. And that old saying, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, I think really is true.
He was a great guy to talk to yesterday about football and also about his impact on young people his whole life as an educator.
I don't think there's any question, and he's done a wonderful job. He's gotten Wisconsin guessing an awful lot. And on the other side, Paul Chryst is just not. I mean, BYU continues to just fly around talkie-talkie yet again. How many times have we called 16's number just involved seemingly in every tackle?
Swing pass to Groshek. Breaks a tackle, but spins out to the 32-yard line. They'll mark him down just shy of the 32, so 3rd down and 2.5. Michael Shelton made the stop for BYU, and this Wisconsin offense on 1st and 2nd down just hasn't picked up the yardage on average that they're used to getting. They're not used to too many 3rd downs.
And just 2 of 7. I think because of that on 3rd down today, a group that came in converted nearly 60% and one of college football's best just one season ago.
Hornibrook well protected, fires a strike. That's a big 3rd down completion to Jake Ferguson for 17.
Yeah, he's a good one. Right, you lose from Gali a season ago. He was such a security blanket as he comes off a little banged up to the sidelines as well. But you have to have that in this system. And those guys are on the field an awful lot blocking, and he is the most adept pass catcher of the 3, and that's a big play earlier on a 3rd down conversion. That was awfully big to try to awaken this stadium that's sitting on their hands a little bit.
Play action, under pressure, Hornibrook avoids a sack. Wide open on the sideline, but floating out of bounds was Kyle Peniston. Could not reach back to make the catch with Corbin Kafusi all over Hornibrook.
Well, Bob, we saw Hornibrook throw a pick on the last drive, and that is something that he's definitely going to be taking some notes about, because he does that after every game. He goes back, watches himself, focuses on his mistakes, where he needs to be better, and takes really, really extensive notes. Joe Rudolph said he is a great self-assessor, and he's been doing this since he was in middle school. He told me, he said it just helps him learn, but he also takes notes on his opponent. So one of his first things he did in preparing for BYU this year was go back and look at his notes from when they played him last year. He is a really thorough preparer.
But he's going to need all that preparation now. Corbin Kafusi with a tackle right at the line of scrimmage on Jonathan Taylor, and it will be 3rd down and 10. I'm not sure there's much in the notebook last year from when Wisconsin played BYU for 3rd down and 10.
Bro, 18 and 19 a year ago for 257. He had 2 incompletions on the opening drive against these Cougars, many of them the belief this time around.
Only a 3-man rush. It's a check down to Groshek. Can he get to the sticks? Fights his way within a half yard of a 1st down. And another decision now for Paul Chryst. And it looks like he's going to leave his offense on the field. They're going for it.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think this is also a little bit representative of your defense. A defense that's thin, coming in, already down a couple linebackers and loses one of their best today. A defense. And this is where you got to play to your strength of who you are. You are built for these downs and distances.
Jonathan Taylor right up the middle. 1st down. Another 4th down conversion as Taylor picks up 2.
We got a few moving pieces here on this Wisconsin offensive line as well. You see 75, Micah Kapoy. He's played a ton of ball, but he's in there at right guard. This is a hot day This is a day that if you're Wisconsin, you want to really get this run game going as best you can. Try to grind it down in the fourth quarter where you have been much better.
Taylor getting a push. And it is a fair amount of the second stringers on the offensive line on the field right now for Wisconsin. Brock, is that just a function of the heat that you may want to at least give unit number 2 a drive or two so that you've got some gas in the tank for your best offensive lineman in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, and very possibly a frustration. You know, in a statement to, you know, everybody has got to earn it. You don't just be handed anything. As you see Ben Shaw, the starting right guard, the preseason All-American. You see Biadish, the center there, 61. Those are 2 starters that right now look able and healthy, but are watching the backups move the ball.
Second down at 4. Taiwan Deal backs his way about 2.5 yards shy of a first down. So it's another big third down for Wisconsin. And how about the numbers today on Jonathan Taylor? He dominated, leading America in rushing through the first 2 weeks. Now he's playing Western Kentucky and New Mexico, but he was averaging close to 8 yards per carry on the season coming into today, only averaging 4.4 so far today.
Yeah, and the big boys up front. We've not called their names nearly enough. BYU's really 4 D linemen that aren't necessarily built there to make all the plays, but to eat up defenders, to stay their ground. They've done an excellent job of it.
Deal. I don't think he's going to get there. Second effort. Is he short? At least a yard short. Cut down by Corbin Kaufusi. It'll be 4th and 1. And another 4th down and short for Wisconsin.
And that's a great play by Kaufusi. 6'8" DN. You don't see many of those, and you're going to see him slash. Fullback tries to cut him down, but there's some advantages every once in a while to be 6'8". There's some leverage challenges at times when you're at the point of attack. But the former basketball player, like all of these Cougars today, man, they have been putting it on the line.
Taylor back in, another 4th down. He's 2 for 2 on 4th and short conversions. And now a false start on Wisconsin.
A false start by number 49 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still 4th down.
And Bob, I'll tell you what that's a reflection of. That's a reflection of I've got to get a half-step advantage. That's Peniston, the tight end, the 2 tight ends. I think Ferguson just reacting to the senior there, Peniston. But that is the junior, excuse me. That's testament to what BYU is doing.
And they're still going for it. It's now 4th and 6. Totally different personnel group on the field, though, for Wisconsin. Taylor out, Garrett Groshek in, and Hornibrook in the shotgun. In that gray area, too far to kick a field goal, too close to punt. Hornibrook over the middle, incomplete. BYU gets a stop on downs. And how big does the false start loom as Wisconsin comes up short on 4th down. BYU ball when we come back. On downs at their own 37-yard line. When Wisconsin scores, it's push-ups for Bucky, but they've only found the end zone twice. Canada lost 1.5 yards on first down. And Bucky, by the way, was questionable for today's game on the injury report. He had an abdominal injury after this yesterday.
Right, what was that? Who was that?
It's the Brock hug.
That kind of set the tone, right? Kind of set the tone for what Wisconsin has been in store for today.
We were here on our way to our coaches' meetings. Bucky walked by. I don't know where that love came from, but Bucky didn't appreciate it. And look, he's still holding his back. Still trying to stretch it out.
I was trying to tell him it was going to be a physical game with BYU today. Get yourself ready.
Second down at 12.
Buckle up.
I see what you did there. Buckle up. That was good. Breaking a tackle behind the line, Riley Burt, and maybe gained 1.5 yards to come close to the original line of scrimmage. Isaiah Loudermilk stayed home and made the stop again on the end around action. So here is a chance for the Wisconsin defense. They have forced 3rd down and long, and they are desperate to get a stop of their own.
Well, you're going to jump around in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. You may want to start right now, Stadium.
Mangum rolls out. Down the sideline, underthrown, knocked away. Well done by Faion Hicks. And Wisconsin gets the stop.
Yeah, and they call that dash protection. You're trying to get outside the pocket. You drop straight back, and then you dash outside of all the mess, trying to win a one-on-one outside. And I'll tell you what else Faion did right there. He got his hands down. There was some pushing and shoving, but right when the ball was in the air, he knocks it down. He gets his other hand away clean.
And the other reason why these stops in each possession are so crucial, normally in today's world of college football with spread offenses and up-tempo and 100 plays per offense, 2:21 to go in the third quarter seems like forever. Well, not in this game. Fair catch. Davis back at the 17. 47-yard punt. Wisconsin down a score with the ball back in a moment.
The college football playoff.
The guys up front. Corbin Kaufusi, the defensive end, right here on the edge. A fantastic job of taking on an All-American. Indeed are there, and then being in the backfield. And look at Lorenzo Bawate at number 55 right there. The big guys just holding their point. Right, and allow everybody else to come and swarm and finish. Lonnie Sitake knew coming in here this would be a 4-quarter brawl. And he wanted to see how his guys would hold up. Well, they're more than holding their own defensively.
Toss to Jonathan Taylor. And now pursuit with speed out on the edge. As Taylor's brought down after a gain of 1.5 yards, and we have an injured Cougar. That's Isaiah Herron, the freshman from Las Vegas, who was a nickel corner. The starters for Wisconsin are back in along the offensive line after they went to their second unit on this last drive. Let's see if we can take a look at Isaiah Herron as he just ended up getting crunched underneath the pile of a lot of players.
Yeah, he is just in a compromising spot right there, and you never want to be there as that whole flow is coming your way, that avalanche of speed and ferocity, which has been that BYU defense. And he trying to get underneath Jonathan Taylor, but yeah, I think all that pressure falls right on his shoulder and neck.
So while they take a look at Isaiah Herron, a reminder, week 2, Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in Chicago to take on Khalil Mack and the Bears. 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific on ESPN. Also simulcast on ESPN2 in Spanish and available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Our coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6. These are unsettled days in your town right now, right? There's
Well, a lot of guys like this that are just bruised and beat up. Bobby Wagner, KJ White, Doug Baldwin, DJ Fluker, a team that was already going to be thin with so much departure of the veteran talent. It's just gotten a whole lot thinner.
And did you ever have to, or did you ever think there would come the day in Seattle where you'd be on your talk show defending the role that Russell Wilson plays in the Seahawks?
And the role that he plays on a football team.
Garrett Groshek gets outside. Great balance. Stays in bounds. Groshek down the sideline. A big play to the 50.
That's one of the rare missed tackles there, Zane Anderson, and that's a little kind of misdirection right there from the former high school quarterback. The Dave Craig Award winner is the top quarterback in this state. He's added weight, former walk-on now on scholarship. And BYU took a breath on one of the rare occasions. And Jonathan Taylor does not have a 20-plus yard run. Just one 15-yard run is his longest, and it's been a fly sweep earlier, and that time Groshek gets out.
Well, Garrett Groshek hasn't run the ball a ton, but he's helped this running game by helping Jonathan Taylor. JT told me that he actually talks to Groshek a ton. He said he used to be a quarterback, so he sees the field differently. He sees the defense. He dissects them and can read them. He said oftentimes when I come out of the game, I go over, I sit next to him, and I just pick his brain. So he's helping them right now, literally carrying the ball, but he's helped JT learn the game quite a bit as well.
You know what else? It's a great point. Groshek, a former quarterback, the entire linebacking core for Wisconsin, all former high school quarterbacks. What is it about this program, Brock, that wants to go recruit former quarterbacks?
Yeah, they just want, I think, athletes, and many times at the high school level, your best athlete is a quarterback, but then it's a bonus because of that broad understanding of the game.
Hornibrook out of the pocket. Flag down. Stayed behind the line of scrimmage so he could find Jake Ferguson, but we'll have to check the penalty marker, and BYU thinks they've drawn another hold.
And they have, and this one's again going to be on Kaufusi.
Holding by number 79 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still second down.
Yeah, David Edwards has not had many of these days. A right tackle, the biggest former quarterback on this roster. But these are two grown men right here, and Kafusi's 6'8", the inside rush, and once Hornibrook breaks the pocket, and you can talk to Russell Wilson's teammates and tackles about that. It's hard. It burdens you because you don't know where the quarterback is. That's something Hornibrook does not do a lot. But the hands outside the frame, once again, the giveaway.
2nd and 17 after the penalty. Timing route to the outside to Danny Davis. And that should take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. So it will be a big 3rd down for Wisconsin to open the 4th. They trail BYU by 7 here at home.
To the season, and this game gets shortened. Both teams are huddling up. The value of that ball, the one takeaway, really the difference here for BYU. 7-point lead in the 4th.
4-man rush. Hornibrook. He's got Ferguson once again. Barry Alvarez's grandson picks up 17. Now, normally they play jump around to get the crowd to have some fun before they leave at the end of the 3rd quarter for blowouts. Well, look who was having fun a minute ago when they played the traditional jump around at the end of the 3rd quarter here at Camp Randall.
And the Wisconsin guys on the other sideline just staring at them like this doesn't happen very much. We don't stare down 7-point deficits going in the 4th quarter, nor this celebratory.
Taylor, blockers out in front. Inside the 20. Eventually dragged down by Chris Wilcox, but not before he picks up another Wisconsin 1st down.
That was a big time block there by the center that pulls all the way out in front of this. Biadish back in the game, and he sizes it up. Look at that. You can't cut it down any better than that. That awareness of offensive linemen. A lot of veterans here. 147 combined starts and a ton of pride. And they've been pushed around for 3 quarters, and I think they're ready in the final 15 to try to do what they do best, and that's run the ball.
Taylor again. Down to the 13-yard line. As you can see, he has already gone over 100 yards for the 3rd time this season. 6 more. Adam Pulsifer made the tackle, and there's Taki heading to the sideline.
Same play. Biadish once again coming out. There is a bit of a searching process, and sometimes it takes Paul Chris and his staff a little bit longer against quality opponents to find what can you get to in that run game. What can you get to in your playbook? It's back-to-back perimeter runs, pulling offensive linemen out in front of it. It's some movement really for the first time in the run game we've seen the 2nd half.
Biadish last year at center was a freshman All-American, both guards. Ben Shaw and Dieter, 1st and 2nd team All-Americans respectively. And that's who they run behind again. Stiff arm inside the 5-yard line. Taylor. Another 1st down for Wisconsin. It is 1st and goal.
That's smart there. You want to leave the corners as the unblocked guys. Chris Wilcox is out there. He's the one left in space. Go get those linebackers. Taki coming off the field, been flying everywhere. Go get your hat on a linebacker and leave those secondary, those perimeter players to be the ones to try to tackle.
Jonathan Taylor needs a rest. He comes to the sideline to get a breather. It's Taiwan Deal, who came in short yardage back in the opening drive for Wisconsin and scored a touchdown. Lines up in a full house backfield. Play action. I'll check that. Hornibrook fires to the back of the end zone. Incomplete through the hands of Ferguson.
It's a couple of those occasions here in the note-taking. Hornibrook's going to have to say, I just got to get better with a little bit of movement. I got to get better and be more accurate. He has it. Ferguson's a big guy with a huge catching radius, but that one's even too tall for him.
Six offensive linemen on the field for Wisconsin, and the tight end Ferguson out there as well. This time they give it to Deal. He's into the end zone for a touchdown. His 2nd of the day. Avoid Brock ties the game at 21.
I just love that so much, and I know I've said this, it feels like a lot more over the course of the start of this college football season, Bob, is it's just what makes the college game so great, the opportunity you have to connect.
And guys, Smee is the strength and conditioning coach. He's also a nutrition consultant, and he worked with a performance nutrition program to use locally sourced produce and companies to develop a couple of custom recovery drinks for his players. One of them is called Red Way. It's tart cherry juice. You got it there, Bobby. Brock, you have the Switchel. It's apple cider vinegar, tart cherry, ginger. It's late in the fourth. You might be cramping up. Give it a try, guys. Come on, Bobby. It's good for you.
Oh, man.
Anti-inflammatory.
I'm not inflamed. I don't have to recover from anything.
I love this vinegar.
Oh, God, this smells terrible. Squally Canada. He's in the open field. Off to the races goes Canada. They were all set to come back on camera to us with this putrid smelling stuff. And Squally Canada bails us out because we have to show a replay, thankfully, of why he was able to spring for 46 yards.
Well, he's got a little juice in his legs here in the fourth quarter. That's awesome, man. That, once again, is the right side of that BYU offensive line. That's Hodge, that's Hoyt. That's two grown men on that side that just collapse their double team. And Canada's savvy. He's got a willingness in the field to cut that thing back. Big time play.
And around Dylan Collie. Flag down. He's got some room, weaving his way. A long run for a gain of a yard. We'll have to check the penalty marker thrown behind the line of scrimmage. It'll be holding against BYU.
Holding by number 67 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
And it has been the penalties really on both sides. Early down penalties that have been rather catastrophic to some of these drives. And you mentioned an NFL game earlier. It's the same thing on Sundays. When you set yourself behind the chains, you've just got to keep those hands in. I mean, you just have to train. It'd be better to let go at that point. But once those hands just get to the back of that defender on his numbers, that is just obvious in plain sight of everybody.
Play clock down to 8. As Mangum is under center. Little late break in the huddle, BYU. Mangum back to throw. Fires one up the seam, and it's complete. Boy, right on the chest pad of Gunnar Romney. And that makes this a much more manageable second down after it was 1st and 20.
That's beautifully done. That's zone coverage. That's a little curl route by the true freshman. And the most important thing when you run that route is you just got to take that step back to the quarterback. That if he stops his route on the top of his break, there is no chance that ball is knocked down. But the savvy freshman, realizing and understanding, just come back to the ball. And an excellent dart there for Mangum.
And now well within field goal range to potentially retake the lead. Mangum flips one. It is caught. Lualu Patutau is able to pick up maybe a half yard. And you can stream college football all season long on ESPN+. So start your free trial today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPNplus.com.
Pretty sharp on third down, and you cannot afford to take a sack here. You see the call sheet out, more than likely some motion shifts, a longer call, a pass play whenever that thing comes out on the wristband, but you have got to get rid of the football.
Here comes the Wisconsin blitz. Mangum heaves one to the sideline, and it's incomplete. He threw it up over the head of Gunnar Romney and did well to avoid, Brock, the sack that you said he absolutely couldn't afford to take there, and that preserves some real estate for the field goal try.
Yeah, and Jim Leonard was going to bring that. You know, he's trying to knock them out of it, and well, Mangum didn't see that off the snap. The sidelines did. They were screaming corner blitz. He does the right thing and at least avoids the negative play.
Well, Jim Leonard, of course, was raised as a player with Mike Pettin, now the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and, of course, Rex Ryan And they love all that third down exotic stuff. And the field goal is good. BYU's got the lead.
Take a drink.
I've been for Wisconsin. And right after the Badgers were able to get down the field and tie the game, a big field goal drive for BYU. Brock, getting some points out of that possession just feels like exactly what had to happen for BYU. The momentum had certainly shifted.
There's no question. In Squally Canada, over 100-yard day in this building. That does not happen very often.
Aaron Cruikshank will bring it out. And the freshman pays the price. Another check-in with Cassidy.
That's back-to-back, some pretty gritty wins for Notre Dame. Not pretty, a little bit like Wisconsin today, a little bit like Wisconsin an awful lot. Just gritty and a fourth quarter team that finds its way to win and really lives for these final 10 minutes.
Jonathan Taylor had a lot more success running the right side the last drive. This time they try to go back to the left. And who's there but Corbin Kafusi?
Yeah, he's had a well of a game. He's had probably the best game that I have seen on tape over the last couple of years for Corbin. I mean, this is a matchup that's built for him. You just got to maul people at the line of scrimmage. You got to use some of that length. There's not been very much perimeter run. That jet sweep, successful early for Wisconsin. They've not come back to it very much. And Kafusi's been setting that edge.
Hornibrook, long throw to the sideline, finds Kendrick Pryor. That's good for a first down. He picked up 11.
And there's those opportunities. I think both of these sets of corners on both teams are going to try to keep everything in front. They do not want to be the group that's up there and press man and gets beat over the top. A lot of youth out on the edges. Should be opportunity for Mangum and Hornibrook in the final 9 minutes to play out on the perimeter.
Rochek. 4 yards, maybe 5, out to the 39. Adam Pulsifer brought him down. Ohio State, TCU. It's number 14 and number 4 against number 15 at AT&T Stadium in Arlington tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific here on ABC and live on the ESPN app. So you can watch anywhere. Gary Patterson, enough trickeration to take down the Buckeyes tonight?
I think fortunately it's going to be played in that state of Texas. This will be the final game for the Buckeyes without Urban Meyer.
Third down coming for Wisconsin at their own 41-yard line. Bracken El-Bakri brought down Groshek.
You know what? You would have probably liked El-Bakri's drink better than what you just drank. 2 a.m. every morning he had to put on 50 pounds. Right, 2 a.m. every morning he drank 2,000 calorie protein drink.
That's my kind of guy.
2 a.m. every morning he had to set that alarm to drink those 2,000 calories to put on 40, 50 pounds and be one of these difference makers that we have seen here for BYU on that D-line.
Can those difference makers get a stop on 3rd down and 3? Hornibrook under pressure. The pocket collapses. And there's the sack. Zach Dahl comes through and brings down Hornibrook.
On those offensive linemen, they can't tug and get the hands outside the shoulder pads or it's a holding call, but D linemen certainly can use those hands, and Zach Dahl does just that to Michael Dieter there, the left guard. He uses his hands, he pulls him tight and he throws Dieter away. And for a group that has not impacted the quarterback very much this season, just 1 sack and QB hurry coming into this afternoon, they've been the difference makers.
Shelton calls for a fair catch. It will be BYU ball with a 3-point lead when we return here in the 4th.
And stay up tonight. You know, the East Coast stay up late because that is going to be a wonderfully highly contested game as well.
Squally Canada out to about the 32-yard line. When he was a little boy, Squally would as a baby at the home that he grew up in. Look at a squaw tree that would go back and forth outside his window in the breeze. And his father named him Boo Squally. Well, the Squally part stuck. So that goes all the way back to when he was an infant. And that tree swaying in the breeze held his attention. Here he is again. Flag down on the far side of the field.
Offside. Number 76 of the defense lined up in the neutral zone. It's a 5-yard penalty and replay second down.
So, Bob, we know how Squally got his nickname, but let's be real. If you live in the Canada household, you're getting a nickname. I mean, you should have heard him yesterday, right? Rattling off all the nicknames of his siblings. We had Weepy, Stinky, Beans. I mean, forget trying to remember a new offense with all these motions and shifts. Try remembering all those nicknames that he's got.
I thought the best was the fact that Stinky and Beans were his two sisters. Alone in the backfield is Canada. Second down and 1. Bouncing off blockers and tacklers. Just enough for a couple of yards and a first down. And we're probably one more first down away for BYU from Wisconsin having to start thinking about using their timeouts.
Yeah, and these are just the moments that this guy is living for right now. A lot of talk about where he's at, year number 3, some of the pressure that's mounting after a really disappointing year last year, and him really trying to change the mindset to get bigger, to get stronger, to come in and play with the Wisconsin, not just play with them, but to beat them. What that would do to the culture of this program is they're trying to take that step to be more physical. Huge.
Mangum off play action. Under pressure outside the pocket, and he'll heave one out of bounds. That does Wisconsin a favor as that stops the clock with 4:54 to go and sets up second down and 10.
That's an amazing run right there.
Well, basically since World War II, the modern era of football, that's the 5th longest home win streak against non-conference competition. Designed quarterback run for Tanner Mangum. 3 yards. And now we bring up third down and 7 as Wisconsin has a chance to get a stop and get the ball back to their offense. Coming up on 4.5 to go.
Yeah, and this is where 80,000 in the stadium have to make a difference. I mean, you have to be that 12th extra defender and create some noise with all the motions and shifts that BYU, you know, is going to use.
Four-man rush. Mangum throws it away. That stops the clock again with 4:04 to go and forces a punt.
Yeah, and really nowhere to go here, and I'll give a lot of credit to Dakota Dixon. This is just a little out route here that Mangum's looking to, and as you can see, when he goes to throw, there's really nobody. He's not going to make that long throw across the field. It was going to either be slant routes or out routes, and right here, Dakota Dixon's in a one-on-one, man. You've got a lot of ground to cover. He does his job with the collision, gets his hands off, forces Mangum to throw it away on the huge third down.
Rhett Almond gets away a wobbly kick. Jack Dunn's going to let it bounce, and this takes the perfect BYU hop out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. 3:55 to go in the 4th here at Camp Randall. Mattered. Under 4 minutes to go. Number 6 at home in danger with their worst starting field position of the day. Hornibrook from the goal line. Looks to check one down to Taylor. Has to leap to make the catch. And has no leverage when he lands, so gets driven back after a gain of 1.
Very different sideline feels down here, guys, for Wisconsin. It's getting a little tense over there. BYU, though, they are loud and they are loose, especially when the defense was over on the sideline, guys. Everybody was talking. Everybody was yelling. So we see Taki going down here. He was dealing with cramps, though, guys, when he was on the side. They were massaging his lower calf. So he was one of the few guys that was seated, but everybody else was kind of bouncing around. This group is really energized.
Well, hopefully for his sake, that is all that this is, because speaking of some tension on a sideline, there's going to be some tension on the sideline for BYU. Brock trying to hold on to a 3-point lead if they have to take that guy off the field.
Yeah, he's been their best player. You know, I think in this game, if you're to circle the most impactful players here over the first 55 minutes, it's been Sione Takitaki, a guy that moved away from that defensive end position. In this matchup last year was mauled at the line of scrimmage. And the staff said, no, we've got to use your hitting, your ability to run and play in space. We have got to get you off the line of scrimmage. And yeah, I think they are working on that lower leg still, but 11 tackles. Coach Taki knows it, that this guy is a difference maker.
We've got SportsCenter tonight after college football on ESPN with Stan and Neal. Kirk Herbstreit will join the show to break down Ohio State TCU, plus all the best moments from the college gridiron. We might have some drama right here for them to recap. And of course, reactions from Stephen A. and Teddy Atlas following Canelo Triple G. SportsCenter, 1 a.m. Eastern after Washington, Utah on ESPN and the ESPN app. Hornibrook after the injury timeout. Another throw underneath to Jonathan Taylor. In space, Taylor close to a first down. It looks like he's got it by a half yard. No huddle for the Badgers. Hornibrook underneath again. This time it's Groshek. To the 24-yard line. 5 yards on first down.
It's pretty sound defensively here from BYU. You've got 7 defenders that are just dropping underneath these out routes and corner routes, and this is about the only outlet. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. They're going to try to keep as best they can. As you see Gaglione over there, everything in front of them.
Hornibrook wants a chunk here, and he's got it with A.J. Taylor. Well, unlike BYU, that's got a true freshman kicker, Paul Christ has a 5th-year senior in Gaglione over on the sideline that he knows he can depend upon. Total confusion on the sideline for BYU. And I'm not sure if they've got 12 men on the field. It looks like they do. It's a free play for Wisconsin. Hornibrook throws it underneath. And that will pick up 8. Garrett Groshek fell out to the 47-yard line, but Coach Sataki not happy at all with the jailbreak on their sideline, as there was complete confusion as to who they wanted on the field. And he's angry because he thinks he should have had the right to substitute.
Illegal substitution by the defense. It's a 5-yard penalty and replay first down.
He's claiming that Wisconsin substituted. Did they?
I did not see that, Bob, but I don't know if my number count's going to go. It does. Goes all the way up to 14, and it's because of that confusion up on the sidelines. I'm a little surprised maybe didn't take a timeout there. As valuable as those may become, keeps in his pocket.
Hornibrook finds Groshek. First down and more to the 45-yard line of BYU. Now the rule is, if Wisconsin substitutes, then the official is supposed to stand over the ball with arms outstretched. That was the motion you saw Coach Satake making, and he felt like his team was supposed to be able to substitute. Groshek for 3 yards. And now a timeout will be called by Wisconsin with 1:35 to go. Tonight, ESPN, Nick Saban, #1 Alabama in Oxford to meet Ole Miss, 7 p.m. Eastern, and live on the ESPN app so you can watch anywhere.
I think I take the over in that one, by the way. I think there are going to be some points scored. Now, you asked about that substitution, and here's a little look at it, and I think why Kalani Sitake was so upset. Look at the bottom of your screen right here. You're going to see Wisconsin sub. And the umpire is, the other second umpire is sitting over the ball, and you can see that as well.
Now, they were not given the right to substitute the way that they should have been, and he was right.
Yep. A couple times, Sitake has been frustrated on that sideline, and I think for good reason. But I doubt he will make any excuse after this game because he knows the final 97 seconds here, everything's in front of him. They have every opportunity laid out in front of them to deliver at the end of the game. Something they've not done, something Wisconsin has. Coming into this game, plus 21 in the fourth quarter. BYU, unfortunately, minus 12 and unable to get it done at home against Cal last week. It sits on their plate right now.
Rafael Gaglianone's career long is 52. They're comfortable with him from just inside of 50. That's why they want to get to at least the 30-yard line. Of course, Hornibrook's thinking touchdown. That might win it. Here he's thinking avoid the sack. He gets loose. Gets away from Taki. Hornibrook down to the 26. 16-yard scramble.
That's not what he does best, but it is something he's tried to work on and add to his game this season. And that opportunity is there as deep as BYU is dropping if you can get past that front four. 16 huge yards.
Taiwan Deal. 2 yards to the 24-yard line, down to 1:10 to go. Hornibrook out of the pocket again. Stays behind the line. Heaves one towards the back of the end zone. And it's incomplete. No chance for A.J. Taylor. And that stops the clock with 45 seconds to go and sets up what might be the play of the game. 3rd down and 8.
A little bit like the other side earlier in this quarter on the field goal. 3rd down, BYU has been very content, Taki and crew, to not pressure. To just rush 4 here. And if you're Hornibrook, like I said about Mangum, you just can't go backwards. You cannot take a sack from this point forward.
Hornibrook up the seam, incomplete. Crowd wanted a flag. Nothing comes out. Taylor, the intended receiver. So it will be up to the 5th-year senior, Rafael Gaglianone, to try and tie the game with 41 seconds to go. And even if he does, BYU still has 3 timeouts. They'll probably have about 35 seconds or so on the clock. So a lot could still happen here in the last 41. 42 yards for the tie. And BYU will spend one of those timeouts
BYU
here.
Calls their first timeout of the half. 30-second timeout.
Surprised by that.
I'm surprised I didn't see a penalty flag, but I guess, you know, at the end, the officials don't want to be on the call. Watch Ferguson. We have seen him all day today. He's been their weapon on 3rd down. Watch him break here. And maybe it's because his legs are so tired and there's not a lot of crispness in that route. But when you get bear hugged right in the middle of the field, that typically draws the yellow penalty.
Now, would you have called timeout there if you were BYU with the clock stopped? I mean, Wisconsin kind of did you a favor by throwing it, and it's an incompletion. The clock stops with 41 to go, which means even if BYU ends up in a tie game here, if you rip off any kind of a return or if no time comes off the clock on a touchback, you could get yourself into field goal range. 3 timeouts rather than 2 with about 30-35 seconds to go could be vital.
Yep. In the NFL, you never do that. Absolutely, positively not. As the clock stops with every 1st down.
He's going to call another one here. He's just playing for overtime. They're just going to try and make Gaglianone think about this kick for as long as possible. So he's not even looking at the last 41 seconds. Is Kalani Sitake as anything up in the air. Basically, Gaglianone makes this kick. They're content to go to overtime.
Yep. And that's a hand he's playing. You know, I would think you go out on the road, you want to give yourself as many hands as possible, but yeah, this is all in right now. This is all in on trying to put that pressure on that senior kicker.
And maybe he's thinking, I've got better odds of making him think about this kick for the next 90 seconds or so than I have of my offense getting into field goal range with only 35 seconds left. Will he call his last timeout? Here, he's standing right next to the official. I think he's going to let it go. The play gets off. It's heading left. No good. The fifth-year senior, Rafael Gaglianone, a Groza watch list kicker. Can't connect from 42 yards out. And maybe those timeouts paid the exact dividends that Kalani Sitake thought they might if he called all of the timeouts and let Gaglianone think about it.
Perfect snap, perfect hold. The senior that has been so good over his career. You saw him pat his chest and say, my bad in the biggest moment. And look at Sitake. He has felt the weight. There is no question. The pride that the program has in their history, in their tradition at BYU, he has heard some of that outside noise of where are you in your program. An opening week win against Arizona created a whole lot of conversation and hope. You fall down in the fourth quarter a week ago against Cal at home, and now you come into this building, you beat number 6, biggest win in his tenure. And it was measuring stick. How tough are we? How big and strong are we? And I give it an immense amount of credit to Jeff Grimes and that offensive staff to come in here and put together a tremendous plan. They're jumping around on that sidelines.
Wisconsin can call their timeouts if they like, but they are mathematically out of this game. Even if they call this final timeout with a 40-second play clock, they're just hoping for a miracle.
How fun was it talking about that fight with him tonight? That guy loves to talk fights. SID says, oh no, you guys start doing this, we're never going to get out of this room. But he loves brawls. He loves fights. Former fullback loved collisions. And he loved this 60 minutes of football. This is who they want to be. They want to be Wisconsin one day. They want to be big, strong, physical. They want to be able to throw haymakers with anybody in the country and to come into Madison against this squad, against this offensive line, and to get it done. I'd say they passed this test.
Brock, calling their opener last year when they couldn't get across the 50-yard line against LSU, and then watching the tape of their game against Wisconsin last year, could you have imagined 12 months later you'd see a BYU team that could go out and physically match up for 60 full minutes with that offensive line and a Wisconsin team? I never thought he would be able to get this program physically to this place in 1 year.
He wanted to change the belief. He thinks belief then moves into behavior, and ultimately the execution is what culture is all about. He went a long way to building so much belief within this program for these players this season, and I think for years to come.
Allison?
Thank you, Bob.